Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. There is Shakti Mati. When you're ready, you can start, Mati.
Okay. Hare Krishna, to all assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Anaishtake. Today we'll be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 30, the activities of the Prachettas, starting with text 14. Thereafter, the child, who was left to the care of the trees, began to cry in hunger. At that time, the king of the forest, namely the king of the moon planet, out of compassion, placed his finger, which poured forth nectar, within the child's mouth. Thus the child was raised by the mercy of the king of the moon. Text 15. Since all of you are very much obedient to my orders, I ask you to immediately marry that girl, who is so well qualified with beauty and good qualities. According to the order of your father, create progeny through her. Text 16. You brothers are all of the same nature, being my devotees and obedient sons of your father. Similarly, that girl is also of the same type and is dedicated to all of you. Thus, both the girl and you, the sons of Prachiban Barharisata, are of same platform, being united on a common principle. Text 17. The Lord then blessed all the Prachettas, saying, my dear princess, by my mercy, you can enjoy all the facilities of this world, as well as the heavenly world. Indeed, you can enjoy all of them without hindrance and with full strength for 1,000,000 celestial years. Text 18. Thereafter, you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and be freed from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets, as well as in hellish planets, you will return home back to Godhead. Text 19. Those who are engaged in auspicious activities and devotional service certainly understand that the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary of all activities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, when one acts, he offers the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and passes life always engaged in the topics of the Lord. Even though such person may be participating in family life, he is not affected by the results of his actions. Text 20. Always engaging in the activities of devotional service, devotees feel ever increasingly fresh and new in all the activities. The all-knower, the super soul within the heart of the devotee, makes everything increasingly fresh. This is known as the Brahman position by the devotees of the Absolute Truth. In such a liberated stage, Brahmabhuta, one is never bewildered, nor does one lament or become unnecessarily jubilant. This is due to the Brahma-Bhuta situation. Text 21. The great sage Maitreya said, after the personality of Godhead spoke thus, the Prachettas began to offer him praise. The Lord is the bestower of all success in life and is the supreme benefactor. He is also the supreme friend who takes away all miserable conditions experienced by a devotee. In a faltering voice, due to ecstasy, the Prachettas began to offer praise. They were purified by the presence of the Lord who was before them face to face. Text 22. The Prachetas spoke as follows: Dear Lord, you relieve all kinds of material distress. Your magnanimous transcendental qualities and holy name are all auspicious. This conclusion is already settled. You can go faster than the speed of mind and words. You cannot be perceived by material senses. We therefore offer you respectful obeisances again and again. Text 23. Dear Lord, we beg to offer obeisances unto you. When the mind is fixed upon you, the world of duality, although a place for material enjoyment, appears meaningless. Your transcendental form is full of transcendental bliss. We therefore offer our respects unto you. Your appearances as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are meant for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and annihilating this cosmic manifestation. Text 24. Dear Lord, we offer respectful obeisances unto you because your existence is completely independent of all material influences. Your lordship always take away the devotee's miserable conditions, for your brain plans how to do so. You live everywhere as Paramatma. Therefore, you are known as Vasudev. You also accept Vasudev as your father, and you are celebrated by the name Krishna. You are so kind that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. Text 25. Dear Lord, we offer respectful obeisances unto you because from your abdomen sprouts the lotus flower, the origin of all living entities. You're always decorated with a lotus garland, and your feet resemble the lotus flower with all its fragrance. Your eyes are also like the petals of a lotus flower. Therefore, we always offer respectful obeisances unto you. Text 26. Dear Lord, the garment you have put on is yellowish in color, like the saffron of a lotus flower, but it is not made of anything material. Since you live in everyone's heart, you are the direct witness of all the activities of all living entities. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you again and again. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much, Javi Mataji, for reading the translations. We will offer prayers and start. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gnanajana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. It's a wonderful section. We're hearing the conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. And in that conversation, we're specifically hearing how Vidura was inquiring at the beginning of this chapter, like Sri Krishna Prabhu described yesterday, how Vidura was interested to find out after they prayed using the prayers that Lord Shiva gave them, Rudra Gita, Supreme Lord appeared before them. So, what did they achieve? It's understood they achieved spiritual perfection, but they achieve anything in this world also? What happened to them like that? He was asking Vidura. And Maitreya Muni started to describe how they completed their austerities for 10,000 years. This was described in Satya Yuga. And then later on, Supreme Lord appeared before him. And then Supreme Lord was pleased with them. What was specifically highlighted? That he was pleased with their friendly behavior between them, their cooperative behavior between them, like that. So that's a lesson we learned from Prabhupada in the purports also. That and Prabhupada emphasized even just before his passing away from this, disappearing from this planet. that cooperation among devotees is the most important thing. So Krishna is pleased with that. Acharyas are pleased with that behavior, cooperation while doing service to Krishna. That's one lesson we learned. Another important lesson we learned in the last section was how it is important to follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas. It is important to follow in the footsteps of our disciplic succession, in the footsteps of parampara. Specifically, the lesson was given in the context of how Prachetas prayed like Lord Shiva prayed. So they followed Lord Shiva in a disciplic succession. Similarly, when we offer prayers that are offered by previous devotees, that's also very potent and that will attract the mercy of Lord Krishna. That was the second lesson we heard from the yesterday's section. Yesterday's section. Now, toward the end of the yesterday's section, what he heard was Supreme Lord's beautiful form was described, and then uh, Supreme Lord was also pleased that they accepted the orders of his father, their father, very nicely, and then executed the orders nicely, submissively. And then now, at the end of the last section, the 12th and 13th verses, we heard Supreme Lord describing that they will obtain a wonderful son, and the son will be very famous, and he will act like a progenitor or Prajapati to generate population in the universe like that. And then 13th verse, we heard Supreme Lord is describing to Prachetas now. He's saying that there's a society girl Apsara by name Premlocha who had a daughter with a sage called Kandu, and the daughter is described as lotus-eyed. And she, when she left back to the heavenly planets, she left her daughter in the care of trees. Is described. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains how this daughter was produced. Basically, Prabhupada explains that the sage Kandu was doing austerities and the sacrifices to please Supreme Lord. At that time, Indra became a little envious, and then he sent this Apsara, beautiful girl by name Premlocha. So then, because of the contact with Premlocha and this Kandu, sage had a daughter. And then finally, the Apsara left the place back to her heavenly kingdom, and that's how this daughter came about. So now going to the today's section, text 14. Supreme Lord is still speaking to Prachetas. That's the context. So he's saying, so after that child was born, the child was given the care of trees, but the child was crying because of hunger. So that time, the trees handed over to child in the care of the king of the moon planet, Chandra. So that way he can take care of the child. So how did he take care of the child? He described that he placed his finger in the mouth of this daughter of Premlocha, and that produced nectar, it seems. So the child was happy. Child was nourished with the nectar, and child was happy with the nectar. So that's how hunger was satisfied. That's in text 14. Text 15, Supreme Lord is still speaking to the Prachetas. He's saying, uh, yeah, he's appreciating that they're obedient to the orders of Supreme Lord. So that's the nature of devotees. Devotees are obedient to orders of the Supreme Lord. Devotees are obedient to instructions we hear from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, like the scriptures from the Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord is personally saying, uh, you're very much obedient to my orders. That's why I'm asking you to marry this girl. Interestingly, we can notice something. So only when we are obedient to our superiors, then superiors will give instructions for us. If we're not obedient, we'll only get the direct instructions, nothing more than that. But if we are obedient to follow what they're giving us nicely, then they like to give more things for us to follow, even sometimes scolding us to practice devotion service nicely. So that is a benefit of being obedient to orders of our Guru. When we are obedient to orders of Guru, they'll feel free to give instructions, to give corrections in our devotion service like that. Otherwise, they'll say, oh, very nice, very nice, very nice, like that. So Supreme Lord himself is saying, because you're very obedient to my orders, I'm telling you now, marry this girl. Why? She is well qualified with beauty and good qualities also. So those are important thing. It's not just beauty that is important for marriage, for our children also, but it's important to have good qualities. So now, further thing also we'll hear the next verse. Here saying, now after marrying her, you can create progeny. So what is the purpose of marriage? So to create progeny in this particular situation. Of course, purpose of marriage in the broader scheme of things is to cooperate with each other to grow in Krishna consciousness. That's the purpose of marriage. And in that process, we also create progeny and guide them also in Krishna consciousness. That is our responsibility. Now, in the next verse, text 16, uh, Supreme Lord is describing further why they should marry her. He's saying that all of you brothers are devotees and the girl is also of the same type and she's dedicated to all of you. So both of you are on the same platform, being united on a common principle. This is very important principle to understand. The principle for marriage is both husband and wife, or would-be husband and wife, are of the same nature and are of the same aspiration. Both of them are ideally aspiring for devotional service. So then it'd be nice. So Prabhupada is writing in the purport, how come so many preachers will marry one girl? Because Supreme Lord gave that blessing. And when with Supreme Lord's blessing comes empowerment also. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, ordinarily one man can marry many wives in the Vedic culture. But it's very, very extraordinary or rare that a girl is allowed to marry many husbands. Why? Only a qualified girl who can see all the husbands equally is allowed to marry many husbands, it seems. Prabhupada writes example of Draupadi. She was so qualified that she could see all the husbands equally. Not like, oh, you are very skillful, you are not skillful. Not like that. She was able to see everyone equally. That equipoise nature is an essential quality to marry many husbands like that. So that's what Prabhupada is describing here. And because Supreme Lord blessed the girl, she could see everybody equally, all the brothers equally also. That's the other point Prabhupada makes in the purport. Prabhupada also mentions in the Kali Yuga, this is not recommended also. So in the purport, Prabhupada introduces to one theme that is going into the next verses also. The theme is that whatever we are doing ultimately in the material world, we have to do it to satisfy the Supreme Lord. That's the purpose of yajna, described in Bhagavatam third chapter also. So then that is what is needed. Whatever we do it for satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So now going to text 17, the Supreme Lord gives blessings to the Prachetas. He says, by my mercy, okay, that's important. You can enjoy all the facilities of this world as well as the Swargaloka, heavenly world. You can enjoy all of them without hindrance, without any obstacles, without any problems, and with full strength for 1 million celestial years. Prabhupada is clarifying celestial years means according to the time frame of the demigods. How our 6 earthly months is equal to 12 hours in the higher planetary systems like Swargaloka. That means Lord is blessing them to enjoy for a long time like this. So, um, so now, whenever somebody is blessed for a long time of life, normally they will get diseases and old age in the material world. But that's why Supreme Lord is blessing them with full strength. That means even though they're living for a long time, they don't need to struggle with old age diseases. They can enjoy fullest like that. So we'll hear about how they're enjoying fullest, but still they are devotees in the coming verses. So is not the full strength is given not just to do material enjoyment. Prabhupada writes in the purport that full strength is given so that they can engage in devotion service with full strength. That means normally when we want to do devotion service in a certain way, we cannot stand for 8 hours at the book table, for example. Somebody cannot do chanting continuously for a long time. Somebody cannot read the book for scriptures for a long time. Like that, all these hindrances will come. But when Supreme Lord blesses with full strength, then all the devotional service activities we can do with full strength without any hindrances like that. Now going to text 18, not only Supreme Lord mentioned that you can enjoy all the time, this was he saying, you develop unadulterated devotional service. That means pure devotional service, pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti. You will achieve, he is telling. And you'll become freed from all material contamination also. And at that time, you'll be completely unattached to material enjoyment, he's saying. So previous verse he says, may you enjoy for a long time. Now he's saying you will actually attain pure devotional service and you'll be unattached to the material enjoyment. And you'll return back home, back to Godhead also. So that is the ultimate blessing all of us are looking for. Supreme Lord wants us to, all of us to be in his association in spiritual world and engage in his service, engage in loving exchanges with him. So Prabhupada is writing the purport that this is a very important purport, and another next one also. He's saying that when a devotee, even though there's an option for material enjoyment, he doesn't forget devotion service. He'll engage in devotion service full-heartedly, sincerely. Then he becomes transcendental to enjoyment or suffering. Doesn't matter. He'll become transcendental. So he'll continue his devotion service no matter what. How is it possible? When a pure devotee gets to Brahman platform, Brahmabhuta stage, then is not affected by so-called material happiness or so-called material suffering like that. So because of Supreme Lord's blessing, they will not become attached to the material facilities that Supreme Lord blessed with. So they'll continue engaging in devotional service. That's the other point being made here. So that means they'll not be affected by three material modes anymore once they get to the Brahmabhuta platform. Now, text 19 is the most important verse. Basically, Krishna, Supreme Lord personally is describing this, remember. He's saying, those who are engaged in auspicious activities of bhakti, what they will understand? They'll understand, I am the ultimate enjoyer. The Supreme Lord is the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary. And then they will do all activities and offer the results to Supreme Lord only. And what else they do? They engage in Sravanam Kirtanam, engage in the topics of the Lord. That means hearing about Krishna Katha, speaking Krishna Katha, or hearing the holy name and speaking the holy name like that by hearing and chanting. So he's saying um, those who are engaged in bhakti understand that I am the supreme enjoyer and do everything for my pleasure and my satisfaction. And then they also engage in hearing and chanting Krishna's holy names and Krishna's pastimes like that. So, and then he says, even though such a person practices family life, he is not affected by the results of such karma. Why? Because he's doing that, even engaging in family duties to please Krishna. That is the way for us the devotees. When we engage all our activities to please Krishna, then we don't get any karmic reactions. Mm, Prabhupada writes in the purport that if somebody is engaging his body, mind, and words in service of Krishna in this world right now, then he can be liberated even while living in this world also. That is called a Jivan Mukta condition, Prabhupada is writing in the purport. So we need to learn the art of how to do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Then that becomes a devotion service while we are here only. Um, so now, another important theme Prabhupada touches in the last paragraph of this purport. Actually, before that, one more paragraph he talks about it. He says, the material sense gratification activities are causing us bondage. Because of sense gratification activities, we're going to take birth again and again and again like that. But same activities of the senses and mind, if we engage in service of Krishna, we can be liberated from this material world also. He gives the example which is described in first canto already, which is Somebody may get indigestion by eating a lot of condensed milk, a lot of sweet rice, like that it seems. So then, when you get indigestion due to milk product, you can use another milk product to cure the disease. What is the other milk product recipe Prabhupada is giving the purport? He says yogurt mixed with black pepper and salt. That will cure the indigestion caused by milk products, it seems. Too much eating of too much milk products or drinking of too much milk products. Similarly, the same activities are causing bondage. When we do it for Krishna, we can be liberated from that. That is one theme Prabhupada is touching. Another most important theme is people, devotees are sometimes worried. Oh my God, Krishna will take all my opulences. Krishna will take all my wealth. Krishna will make me poor, like that. The theme Prabhupada is explaining nicely is, like in this case, Prachetas, they are so much opulence blessed by the Lord. Still, they're engaging in devotional service with their opulence. So if somebody can engage whatever they have in their position currently, in their life currently, with service of Krishna nicely, then they don't need to worry. Krishna will give them even more and more, like that. But if I don't engage what I have in Krishna service, then Krishna may take away that. Because anyway, I'm not using in my Krishna service. So that will only cause bondage to me. So Krishna is giving a special favor to take away from me. So the principle we can learn from it is, whatever we have in our life, if we engage as much as we can, more and more, our time, our words, our activities, our resources we have that Krishna has given in Krishna's service somehow or other, then Krishna will be pleased, and by his mercy, we may get even more. That means we'll stay comfortably here also, like Prachetas. We can stay comfortably here and still practice devotional service. Yeah, that's what Prabhupada is clarifying here in the purport. Now going to text number 20. Remember, Supreme Lord is speaking all these things to Prachadas. He's saying, such devotees, they are always engaging in my bhakti, and they'll feel ever increasing fresh and new in their activities. Oh my God, I chanted yesterday, I chanted day before yesterday, I need to chant again today. They don't feel like that. When we are constantly engaging in bhakti, our heart receives some purification, and Super Soul living with us gives us mercy. With that mercy, we'll feel our joy in doing bhakti, joy in doing services, joy in doing chanting, joy in hearing Krishna Katha, joy in reading Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. So that Supreme Lord himself is describing that we'll feel it ever fresh, like that. Then he's saying such a devotee gets to Brahman position, Brahmabhuta stage. And such a liberated stage is never bewildered. And he never laments for anything. And he's not unnecessarily jubilant, like that. That means he's not jubilant for just material reasons and then give up devotion service, like that. He'll stay fixed position. So by the super soul inspiration to such a devotee experiences transcendental bliss in executing bhakti, Prabhupada writing. So when feeling happy by doing bhakti, by hearing Krishna Katha, by chanting the holy name, we understand it's by the mercy of Supreme Lord as super soul in our heart. So, and he will also guide us how to progress more and more in bhakti, like that. Going to the next verse, text 21. So now that's how Supreme Lord ended his benedictions to them. Now Prechidas will glorify with set of verses. And the next section will see how Prechidas will offer request a benediction also from Supreme Lord, like that. But for now, they are going to glorify Supreme Lord in this section, and we'll hear Supreme Lord's nature. And as we heard the beauty of bhakti, now we hear the beauty of Supreme Lord's nature. Now, Prachita start to offer the prayers in ecstasy is described. Their voice is faltering because they're ecstatic, seeing the Supreme Lord face to face. And is described, they got purified by seeing Supreme Lord face to face also. Srila Prabhupada compares in the purport the Prachetas seeing the Supreme Lord face to face with pure devotees chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is both are equivalent because Lord's holy name is not different from Supreme Lord Krishna himself. So when pure devotees chant the holy name, they're experiencing the direct association of Krishna. And when we are chanting the holy name also, we are purified of all material contaminations because Supreme Lord's name and Supreme Lord are practically non-different. They're one and the same. Now going to text 22, Prachetas are starting to offer prayers. They're glorifying Krishna, Supreme Lord, like this. Oh, you relieve all kinds of material distress you will take away. Haraye is the word used. So you in the coming verses actually. So he says, you take away all material distresses, and your transcendental qualities and holy name are all auspicious. And you can go faster than the speed of mind and words. You cannot be pursued by material senses. That's why we offer our obeisance like that they're praying. So Prabhupada emphasizes in the purport, everything is conclusively given in Vedas. So we don't have to experiment, research, and find out. So when we engage our devotees senses in favorably in bhakti, the Lord with his causeless mercy reveals himself to us. He reveals about his nature to us. He reveals about his qualities to us. And he will reveal about how to approach him, how to make our next step in bhakti like that. So, by the causeless mercy of Krishna, anything is possible. We're going to text number 23. He says, Prachetas are offering obeisance to Krishna still. They say, when the mind is fixed on you, um, the world of duality, even the place of material enjoyment appears meaningless. So that means they're saying, when we practice bhakti, we understand the temporary nature of the material world, temporary nature of material enjoyment, and we develop detachment from sense gratification. Text 24. They glorifying Supreme Lord as your existence is completely independent of all material influences. You always take away devotees' miserable conditions because your brain is always planning how to do this, how to take away suffering from my devotees, how do you make sure my devotees are happy. You're always thinking like that, they're saying. And you're so kind that you always increase the influence of the all kinds of devotees. So not only you take away material miseries, you make your devotees so much influential. They can do so many great things like that to help others. That's what is describing here. In the purport, Prabhupada emphasizes Lord Shiva's position as in between Jiva and the Supreme Lord. How Lord Shiva, we should never think Lord Shiva is equal to Supreme Lord. But Lord Shiva is also Supreme Lord, but his origin is Krishna himself. And he's quoting a Brahma Samhita verse that describes Lord Shiva is like a yogurt, whereas Supreme Lord Krishna is like milk. So Lord Shiva is in contact with material nature, whereas Supreme Lord is never in contact with material nature. Like that is describing the purport. Going to 25th verse, they're glorifying Supreme Lord as the origin of the universe, origin of the lotus flower where Brahma came from, as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So that means he is the source of everything, all spiritual material worlds like that. And then text 26, they're glorifying Supreme Lord is wearing yellow garment, and that yellow garment is not material. That's also spiritual because Lord's paraphernalia is not different from Supreme Lord himself. So is they're glorifying that your garment is also spiritual in nature. And then they're saying you stay as super soul in everybody's heart, and you are the direct witness of all the activities of the living entities. Prabhupada writes in the purport how Supreme Lord as a super soul is reciprocating with our desires based on, let's say we want to remember Krishna, he will help us remember Krishna. We want to grow in bhakti, he will give us opportunities, he will give us intelligence, ideas to grow in bhakti. But if you want to forget Krishna, then he'll give that also, forgetfulness also. So that way we can forget Krishna also. So it all starts with our desiring the right things. And how do you develop the right desires? By engaging in bhakti and by association of pure devotees, sadhus. By engaging devotees association, we also develop aspirations similar to devotees. Oh, I heard from Bhagavatam that Krishna is personally telling to Pechadas that we'll experience bliss by doing bhakti. We'll experience ever freshness. Let me try it out. Okay, what Krishna is saying. I will also sincerely chant every day morning. So like that, we'll also develop nice aspirations and desires to practice bhakti nicely, and we'll experience what pure devotees are experiencing in a limited scale right now. We don't have to experience that after 100 years or after 40 years or 30 years like that. We'll experience in limited scale, and that will keep on increasing our direct experience of potency of bhakti, direct experience of Krishna's mercy in our life, Krishna's favor in our life. We'll experience in our life. So we'll pause there. Today, primarily, we saw the beautiful nature of bhakti, how it helps us to understand Krishna, how it helps us to receive the mercy of Krishna. And we also heard Krishna describing how even we are surrounded by material appliances, we can be detached from them by engaging everything in Krishna's service. And when we are in that service mode of engaging everything in Krishna's service, Krishna will make sure we have whatever we need in our life to practice life right now and to practice bhakti to go back to him also. We'll pause there. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna.